यूएस कांग्रेस में ट्रंप का आगाज हुआ। डेमोक्रेटिक पार्टी के सदस्यों ने इसी बीच ट्रंप के भाषण के विरोध में काले प्लैकार्ड्स दिखाए। इसमें दावा किया गया कि इलॉन मस्क गड़बड़ी के पात्र हैं। मस्क स्टील्स ऐसे प्लैकार्ड्स लेके डेमोक्रेट सेनेट नजर आए। इस मुद्दे पर अपना विरोध व्यक्त करने के लिए डेमोक्रेट्स एकजुट नजर आए। उन्होंने ट्रंप के भाषण के दौरान काले रंग के प्लैकार्ड्स तो उठाए ही और विरोध में एक पिंक प्रोटेस्ट को दर्शाया। ये विरोध उस समय हुआ जब डेमोक्रेट्स ने मस्क और ट्रंप की नीतियों और कार्यों पर सवाल उठाए।
And no tax on Social Security benefits for our great seniors.
ट्रंप तो इलॉन मस्क को थैंक यू करते नजर आए। हालांकि ये घटना अधिकतर राजनीतिक विरोध का हिस्सा थी। यहाँ विभिन्न पार्टी सदस्य अपने राजनीतिक विचारधारा के तहत एक दूसरे के खिलाफ खड़े हुए थे। ये स्थिति अमेरिकी राजनीति में अक्सर देखने को मिलती है, जहाँ विभिन्न पार्टी सदस्य अपनी राय और विरोध व्यक्त करने के लिए सार्वजनिक रूप से प्रदर्शन करते हैं। देखिए ये वीडियो।
I stood beneath the dome of this Capitol and proclaimed the dawn of the golden age of America. From that moment on, it has been nothing but swift and unrelenting action to usher in the greatest and most successful era in the history of our country.
I agree. Most presidents, even when they're elected in very partisan times, like Bill Clinton, for example, they use these addresses to try to win some people over, to win over a few people in the other party, and to win over a few viewers, because that's the only way you get legislation passed. That's the only way you keep the government open when you're so closely divided. But that doesn't seem to be in Donald Trump's way of thinking about politics, which is what made this sound more like a campaign speech than a governing speech.
I return to this chamber tonight to report that America's momentum is back, our spirit is back, our pride is back.
It's very hard to form a narrative about people going on a journey to a promised land when you're not really about a promised land, but instead responding to a series of grievances. When he says a golden age of America, his golden age sounds like it's removing things that different groups are angry about for one reason or another. So that's not a play, that's not a story, that's a set of a list of grievances, and that's what he is.
Members are engaging in willful and continuing breach of decorum, and the chair is prepared to direct the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order to the joint session.
It's become a more raucous occasion with far less decorum than historically was true of these occasions, which had a certain amount of ceremony and dignity to them. And at the beginning, it looked like it was going entirely off the rails.
Well, I think it reflected our moment, the back and forth, the Democratic Congressman Al Green interrupting the speech, the signs, but also the humor, the condescending and mocking humor that Donald Trump used, calling Senator Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas. I mean, all of this, it breaks the decorum of these addresses in the past and even the recent past. These were to be addresses where people would rise above politics for at least one night. And I don't think we have a capacity for that right now. And it's not who he is.
We're joined tonight. Earlier today, I received an important letter from President Zelensky of Ukraine. The letter reads, Ukraine is ready to come to the negotiating table as soon as possible.
I think the news, if there was any, was his reading the letter from Zelensky and not editorializing in a negative way about it. So that seemed to be a bit of a thaw. Certainly from what we've seen over the last few days since the disastrous meeting in the Oval Office.
Well, I think he is articulating a different view of national security than we have seen from Republicans in about 100 years. He's going back to an isolationist tradition, a unilateralist tradition. Isolationists were always expansionists, but they believed the United States should do it on its own and should not partner with Europe and other countries like that. And this was more of the same there. I think that's a problem for him because even many Republican voters side with Ukraine. What we're seeing, especially with regard to Ukraine, is this is having a real effect. And the shadow figure who was not mentioned in the speech is, of course, Vladimir Putin. And the concerns many people have, many members of the House and Senate have, of the president's close and, shall we say, very strange relationship with Vladimir Putin, that was not addressed.
If you don't make your product in America, however, under the Trump administration, you will pay a tariff, and in some cases, a rather large one. Other countries have used tariffs against us for decades, and now it's our turn to start using them against those other countries.
I think traditionally, the Republican Party has been the party that believes that tariffs are bad. They were the party of tariffs until Herbert Hoover, and then they never wanted to be the party of tariffs again. And most business leaders, including those who support Donald Trump, don't like tariffs, and certainly that he really doubled down on the tariffs, which is going to make it harder for him down the line to either reverse himself or to claim he didn't really support tariffs. I mean, he can't blame someone else for that. It was interesting. He said, we can blame Marco Rubio if some things don't work out in the Middle East. He actually said that in the speech. He's taken personal ownership over the tariff issue. And if that produces rising costs, a trade war, supply chain problems, and perhaps a recession, as many Republican economists, as the Wall Street Journal thinks will happen, I don't know how he walks his way out of that black eye. He said almost nothing about China. He talked about China and tariffs, but everyone I talk to in the foreign policy world is very concerned about what's going to happen with regard to Taiwan right now. Here's the question: are the Chinese seeing our actions in Ukraine as meaning that we won't react if they invade Taiwan or not? And there's that is one of the issues, as you know, that actually brings Democrats and Republicans together. It was a potential unifying issue. You might have gotten Democrats to stand if he took a strong position on China. He didn't.
But I know this group is going to be voting for the tax.
I'm not surprised by the partisanship in the room, but I'm pretty sure it's not what the American people want. I think people go to a campaign event or they watch a campaign event because they want to see red meat. I don't think we have changed so much as a country. I think people do want to see presidential leadership as involving those moments when you can bring people together, when you can reach our higher, better angels, even if it's only for a few minutes. And I don't know if that hurts Trump or the Democrats more, but I think there's a longing for that.
And to that end, I have created the brand new Department of Government Efficiency, GOGE. Perhaps you've heard of it, perhaps. Which is headed by Elon Musk, who is in the gallery tonight.
It was, I thought, shocking that he itemized programs that he said were examples of ridiculous expenditures, and almost all of them involved African nations, which I thought had a very kind of racial overtone to it.